Okay, John Noble. We always have this John Noble versus Oleg Markov debate. When Noble has a ball in hand, he looks amazing, and that's what he does. That's his job. That's 2 goals there that could have been avoided on John Noble's behalf. Not sticking tackles, poor spoiling. We've got a serious game here to unpack with you guys regarding the analysis for the drawn game between Essendon and Collingwood for the ANZAC Day clash. Essendon came out with all guns blazing, lost a bit of rhythm. Collingwood responded, and then the game leveled out for the most part of the second half. So let's break it down. Like I said, we're not going to waste any time talking about what happened here, what happened there. I'm going to show you, and we're going to talk about it and go from that moment. Very early on, besides the clearances, what was noticeable in Essendon's game was their intent to move the ball wide and spread the ball. In this moment here, we're actually going to see Sidebottom elect to defend the corridor as opposed to the boundary. So this player here will decide to go out wide, and then Sidebottom is actually going to fall off a little bit and mind this area. And that's what you normally would do in the modern game, defending the corridor, letting them have it out wide. But it was a clear intent for Essendon. They knew Collingwood were going to leave some of these passes out wide. And then even here, like, you could probably suggest that Sidebottom needs to get in this hole here to cover that. But that's a difficult pass. And the fact that Side is already moving there, it should put doubt into this player, but it doesn't. And it's Nick Martin. It's a perfect kick. It's centimetre perfect. You can't really blame Sidebottom there. I think, like I said, it's just early in the game. Essendon sort of got a run in the clearances, and from there, sort of caught Collingwood by surprise with the wide ball movement, which isn't a contemporary game style. But that's what happens. The AFL moves in cycles. One team wants to play forward half pressure, another wants to build up from the back, another wants to play wide, slow. They always come back. It's cyclical. So as the game's going on, we're still getting killed in the clearance game, which is a result of the scoreboard pressure, 5-1. And then here, can we ask for maybe Darcy Moore to get a better purchase on that spoil there? I'm going to be talking a lot in this video about our defence, little moments that matter in the game. As we know, football is a game made up in moments, and I think we're conceding far too easily, and it doesn't embody the identity that Collingwood have been able to represent over the last couple of years, and we're really struggling in that realm. We're not going to be in a premiership window if we're conceding 100 points, 85 points against the Port Adelaide's, the Essendon's. It's not going to stand in the tests and the rigours of the finals-like intensity games. So we need to sharpen that up. So just little things there. I may sound hypercritical, but I am going to point those ones out. And then our midfielders, all in this moment here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players all sort of swarming to this contest here, where we probably don't need that many players. We've already got players tackling this guy. The ball comes out, and Gresham feeds it out to Parrish, who was all by himself, one of the midfielders left alone, just because we congested ourselves into that contest, which probably wasn't necessary. We also put in De Goey's disposal and ball use on watch. He was the 4th lowest rated player for the game here. In this situation, either you've got to hit this hand pass to Pendlebury, or in true Collingwood fashion, maybe just dish it forward and sort of, apply that frontal pressure in that forward 54 Collingwood. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best hand pass by Elliott, and De Goey sort of hits it into a really dangerous space. It's a negative handball into the corridor for Essendon players to swarm on. This minute mistake actually results in a set shot for Essendon. Collingwood players are stepping up because we had so many numbers at the contest. Defenders are forced to play off their man, and results in a set shot, as I pointed out too. So De Goey has played really well effort-wise the last couple of games, obviously getting a bunch of coaches' votes in the last couple of games. So that's been great. Just want to keep an eye and a tab on his ball use in the next few weeks to see if that improves. I think he's like the 2nd lowest rated kick in the league, or within all the midfields for the league, one or the other. So that's not a stat that you want to have attached to your name. So I think hopefully we can see De Goey digress away from that stat. Also, this was a high free kick count game. I think Collingwood and Essendon both had over 22 free kicks for each side, which is, if you finish with 22 free kicks averaged per game for the season, you're going to be 1 and 2 for the league. So particularly Collingwood in that first quarter, just gave away too many silly free kicks and allowed Essendon to apply and take advantage on the scoreboard very early on. We'll end up chasing tails the whole game. We find our rhythm, as we'll see, but in the end, when you have to fight back from 5 goals down at the start of a game, your rhythm for that game isn't going to be maintained for 4 quarters. We know you're not going to play a perfect 4-quarter performance. So while we looked amazing for that second quarter, it's hard to take that exact advantage in the game itself into the next half. Essendon obviously going to have a response. The other thing that was interesting to note from this game, and as sort of a common theme in the season so far for Collingwood, is our scores from forward half turnovers. Collingwood are averaging 36 points from that score source, which is second in the league. That was leading up to the game against Essendon, and we further built on that. We were average in that domain last year, so it's great to see that we're adding a trick up our sleeve, or we're slowly just moulding our game into a different sort of brand. But we'll talk to that as the game progresses. Here, let's get Big Macy handballing to Josh Dacos and get the ball rolling into the forward 50 before Essendon are able to set up. You've got someone like Mackay who's caught up in this contest and will have no impact in this section around here, which is where he's been thriving, been the leading interceptor for the game in the league. Talking about those little moments, Schultz isn't really clean below the knees, causes a turnover. Nick Martin has a really nice deft touch there to keep the ball close to Zach Merritt. Collingwood players applying that frontal pressure that we always talk about. That's a great hand pass. That breaks everything open. I remember Josh Kelly did that to us in the opening round where we were applying an immense amount of frontal pressure, but that just breaks the game open. I do want to mention side bottom, applying good pressure there as well, but side bottom here, this is actually smart, and I just want to highlight while side bottom's form hasn't been great, his defensive efforts and acts and work rate is always going to be there. I don't think his running capacity is shot. I think he's just out of form, low on confidence, disposal isn't great, not finding the ball as much as it is typically accustomed to. I think he's averaging 6 less disposals for this season compared to 2023. But I like this free kick because if Langford takes that mark unimpeded, which he would have done if Sidebottom didn't take that free kick, that could have been an easy turn and kick and have an easy goal at the back. I think that one didn't end up resulting in a goal because Sidey was smart and forced that to be a slowed down free kick in their 50. Here we've got the Pies transitioning from D50 to forward 50. We're at the kicking came in at 13:28, and then this ball was inside our forward 50 by within 10 seconds. That's amazing. This is why we want Nick Dacos in the centre square from time to time. He completely obliterates Zach Merritt in speed in this situation. And obviously Collingwood have a set play here where we've got Darcy Cameron who's going to tap this sort of behind him with his right foot into this space here. And then Nick Dacos already knows that's where it's going. He's read the trajectory. Everyone's read the trajectory of where this ball's falling. It's sort of falling to Darcy Cameron's side, which is favourable for that tap behind the back there. And Zach Merritt's nowhere really near it there. And we get a set shot from this centre bounce clearance. Here, do we want Sidebottom just taking that in the hands and resetting for a stoppage? This is fortunate that Darcy Moore takes that mark. So those little things with Sidey, would have liked him to hold that in and get that stoppage. But nevertheless, Darcy Moore gets this and we make some transition from end to end. And then we get the ball into our best ball user at halfback. We can see exactly what Nick Dacos is looking for. As soon as he receives the ball, he's eyeing off of this corridor here. De Goey is clued onto it. And then we've actually got, I think this is either Pendlebury or Dacos, Josh Dacos. I think it's Pendlebury. He forces this player to make a decision and drags him out, which makes this pass a little bit easier for Dacos to hit. So we'll watch this, how it transpires very quickly. Like there's no hesitation with Nick Dacos' decision making and his vision. So that vision and that pass isn't made if Nick Dacos isn't quick to say, yeah, I'm going to take this kick on. And we know De Goey is a strong overhead mark. So we build it up, we get the hands out. Maybe not the best hand pass from De Goey. Talk about his ball use and decision making there. But this is just another build-up in from end to end for Collingwood. While this actually doesn't result in a a score from defensive half because this ends up becoming a forward half turnover. It was nice to see to use both those aspects of our game, intertwine them, and get this finish from Dacos, who started this play all the way back from the halfback flank. I feel like there's always a moment for Collingwood where there's that they don't want it moment for the opposition, and this is the moment I think Essendon realised, okay, shit, we've got a game on our hands. Pies are on, the forward half pressure's on, the small forwards are working, tackles are coming from everywhere. Essendon were fumbling in that situation, and that's what happened. Talking to the little moments, Darcy Moore loses 2 contests in this sequence of play, so brings it to ground. Some strong tackles there. Stringer, unbelievable all game long. Another great hand pass. Nick Dacos, double efforts. Slows down the ball enough to get to this point, okay? Harry Jones takes a strong mark there. And then Darcy Moore's going to engage very early, put some body on Sam Draper. They sort of 50-50'd that last contest. Put some work into Draper to slow down his work. Darcy Moore here makes the decision to go for that intercept. I think he just gets caught up. He gets checked by Nick Cox very slightly and isn't able to get the jump on that he is typically used to. Doesn't even get an opportunity to jump, and then his direct opponent, Sam Draper, wins that and kicks the goal. Call it critical, call it what you want, but this is the difference between conceding 60 points a game and 85 or whatever it may be. On to the next situation here. I think we get Maynard applying pressure and then doesn't quite have an impact on this initial one. Doesn't give up on the play, keeps running. He notices that Howe has also stepped up to cover Maynard. But as the saying goes, help me, help you. Maynard goes to support Howe in this situation, covering his man with his elite close down speed. And gets a massive tackle while Harry Jones was fumbling in this situation. Prior to this game, Collingwood only averaged 8.7 points from D50 chains, but that was back in full flight against Essendon, along with that forward half pressure that I keep harping on about. This is one of them. Although it's not the most efficient, quickest way to transition the ball, we were patient. We moved it from side to side, and even this kick, it's a long kick into the forward line, but nevertheless, it's still something that will go down as a D50 chain that leads to potential mark of the year and a goal as well. So I think here, Frampton makes the decision to play off his man and try read this difficult ball that bounces short. Sure, you could make the argument this is Todd Goldstein. There's no way he's going to take this clean, but it's one of those balls that's falling well short before Frampton's actually able to have an impact here. And this is the difference between being a defensively sound team and a team that leaks goals based on poor decision making sometimes. Frampton doesn't have an impact. And as I said in previous videos, if you don't have an impact, can you follow up and make a tackle and stop the movement of the game the way it's trending? He isn't able to do that, and this results in an easy goal from memory. I think a goal out the back because obviously Billy Frampton stepped up. Darcy has to step up and goal. So that's what I'm saying. These are the things that Collingwood need to slightly correct to become a premiership caliber defense. What I noticed a couple times throughout this game was Collingwood were kicking it long and our forwards either weren't leading up to the ball with good timing, so we fell short of where we needed to be, or the forwards' starting points aren't actually high enough to have an impact. They're a kick and a half away, and by the time they lead up to the ball, it falls short from where they actually need to be. And a lot of clubs and teams are guilty of this. But in this situation, it's clear that everyone is setting up for this long kick here. And I think we're just a little bit lackadaisical with our forwards. I think it's Hoskin Elliott and Myercheck who are just too slow to get into their movement patterns. Like, this is not a set shot from Mason Cox over here. This is a free kick, and he has a set amount of time before he needs to kick the ball in. So a little bit more urgency from these players here. Sort of still, look how deep they are, and they haven't even made their runs yet. And by the time the kick comes in, look how short it is. Look where Myercheck is, who your key forward is in this situation, because someone like Mason Cox is further up the ground. He needs to be ready and attentive to the situation. However, a direct turnover from this situation leads to Lipinski here. And I've pointed it out all pre-season, even early in the season, that Lipinski has this knack of finding himself in little holes in the forward 50 for Collingwood, obviously. And I think Durham is not really defending much here and doesn't end up defending anything at all. It's too late. he's still too far away from here. He doesn't need to cover anything up in this domain here. There's nothing here that he really needs to be concerned about. And by the time he recognises, it's too late. It's a good kick, but it's too late. This is what we want more from with Darcy Moore. A great spoil, which he kills it. Whether he was aiming for the backline, I'm not too sure. For a behind, I'm not too sure. But either boundary line or behind works in that situation. So really nice work by Darcy Moore. He was leading up to that initially, so we'll see. He was following this ball, and then he has to quickly wheel back, and that takes a lot of core strength, strength in the legs to turn that quickly and have an impact like he did here, get his long arms involved. I thought this was a really intelligent play by Bobby Hill, patient, composed. He didn't really have much going on here. There's nothing going in this hole here. Maybe Elliott ends up leading into here. Let's find out. Not really. And Essendon have done well to collapse this space. So there's not a lot going on. But what we will see is Bobby Hill makes a decision to sort of draw Laverde out here. And he's sort of like feigning the kick. Feigns it a couple times, feigns it again. And now Laverde's coming. This play's not going to have an impact. And Bobby Hill gets this over to Dacos because he's drawn in Laverde. And that's all thanks to Bobby Hill. A great finish from Josh Dacos as well, of course. Unreal. Okay, John Noble. We always have this John Noble versus Oleg Markov debate. When Noble has a ball in hand, he looks amazing, and that's what he does. That's his job. Oleg Markov, when he comes in, he's got some running dash. Not the best, isn't able to find the ball as well as Noble, and probably aren't looking for Markov to have the ball. But the issue with Noble, in my opinion, are these situations here. Take the mark or get more purchase to find the boundary. This results in a goal. Noble does work hard to get back here. So he's made an error with the spoil, in my opinion. But he also fails to stick this tackle here. Doesn't stick it, and that's a goal for Nick Martin. I think in the very next centre bounce, Noble has another opportunity to have an impact here. And doesn't really have any sort of engagement with the ball there. And Nick Martin, who turned it on in that last quarter, finds a strong contested mark for Langford. So that's the difference between Langford and Noble and Markov, and that's a decision the club will need to make further down the line. That's 2 goals there that could have been avoided on John Noble's behalf, not sticking tackles, poor spoiling. I think Markov last year had 0.7 intercept marks per game versus Noble's 0.4, 0.5, which does stack up over the course of 23 games. And then Markov as well had 1.3 spoils per game versus Noble. I think he had half a spoil a game. So those are the little things that really matter. It doesn't sound like a lot averages-wise, but when you play 23 games and you're averaging that little bit more than your direct competition team, that will be what separates them at the end of the season. I really liked Coxey's game. I thought he worked really hard in the contest to provide an option. Obviously moments that weren't great, but this was nice to see. 2-on-1, brings the ball to ground and does enough. Nick Hind, unfortunately, falls over and McCreary finishes Cox's hard work in the aerial component. A few moments late in the game here where maybe Crisp can hold this in, considering there's 5 minutes left. We're up by a point. Maybe we can get a repeat stoppage here. But he wants to get this out. I don't know about that decision. Schultz does well to shake some tackles. Dacos here a little bit fumbly. And then even here, do we want Josh Dacos to... Do we want him to hold it in? Does he get called for holding the ball there, guys? Or do you live with Dacos taking that in and forcing the umpire to make a decision there rather than letting what happened happen here? Just handballs it to their direct opposition. It's another inside 50 opportunity for Essendon. So do you want... And Mason Cox comes back really well with the flight against an accelerated Peter Wright attacking that ball there. So do you want Josh Dacos holding it there, forcing the umpire to make a decision? Does he ball it up or does he give the free kick? At least even if Essendon do get the free kick, at least Collingwood have time to set up behind the ball rather than it coming back in as quickly as it did. Last one here, I talked about our forwards being too deep, bit lackadaisical, taking our time, setting up for our leading patterns here. Mason Cox is the one who's going to work here. We all know he's the one who wants this. Scott Pendlebury cannot kick 60 metres or whatever that is. 50 metres. He can kick 40 metres on a good day. So why are we not either starting up a bit higher? That's fine. We start deep because obviously the longer the lead, the more room you have to get lost in the leads, like being a defender, if you have to run from a deeper position. Rather, if they start up here, then obviously the defender doesn't have to follow too far. But if they start back here, they're going to follow Mason Cox a long way while receiving blocks from Collingwood forwards, putting blocks on for Mason Cox in those leading patterns. So maybe just start your run earlier, Coxie. So he's still sort of sitting flat-footed. And he does get there very late. But if he starts a little bit earlier, that's a mark over, I think, Redmond there. This is the final moment of the game where we had a really good opportunity to get the ball inside 50, but just a double error from Jamie Elliott here. Here, I think we've got it. We have to give this the crisp because look what we got here. We've just got runners everywhere on the inside, and that's going to give us a myriad of looks on goal. That doesn't transpire, and if Elliott doesn't see this, okay, you can forgive him. It's 2 minutes 28. The game is a high octane game, high stress. Decision making is sometimes shaded, sometimes and not clear. At least kick this in out the back. And give these players an opportunity to run the ball. Being a defender, the worst thing you want to do is be running back to goal and having to defend a forward with the ball coming over your back because you can't watch two things at once and you're busting your guts just to fight for position. Elliott burns burns a long kick, turns in. I'm not sure if he's looking for a kick that's too pretty here. Maybe I think he's looking for this kick here or maybe this one here. By this time, you've made those two initial errors by not going long early or not handballing inside early. Maybe just get it to the hot spot. Put it up in the air. Get these boys a chance to get front and center and have an opportunity to kick a goal. Anyways, it was a great game. I think there's many things that Collingwood can work on. We got killed in the centre clearances early. Essendon had an unusual game plan to go wide, and Collingwood weren't attentive to that to start off with. We adjusted. We had a really good second quarter. Draper kicks a crucial goal going into halftime to swing the momentum. That's a big thing in AFL footy. They also had 5 contested marks in that first quarter, which is astronomical. Contested possessions we were outdone by. We did win the tackle count. 67-50, which was positive to see. We had 14 tackles inside 50 compared to their 2, so creating a really dominant forward half game and really moulding that into our system has been really positive. And yeah, but just I guess Collingwood need to work on that starting point. We started slow against Port Adelaide. We started slow against Essendon. We can't be chasing tails for being 5 goals back. It's not going to work out. Last week it worked out. This week we only get 2 points. Next week if it happens again, we probably don't get that opportunity against Carlton, and they're going to be bullish and wanting to bounce back from a tough loss against Geelong. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.